Hey guys, welcome back. So now, Batman Superman #1, which isn't like the first volume, I think it's like the 6th one at this point, but what Joshua Williamson has done in this first issue, and I mean like even from the first couple pages, it has made this feel like the best first issue that I've read going into any new series. But now will it be the best series? We'll see. And that really just depends on how the whole infected thing rolls out, but sheesh, if you don't get this issue 1, I don't know if we can be friends anymore. But man, with that being said, we gotta get into it. So first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch the spills every week. And don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squad up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so first things first, getting into the infected, some reading recommendations that I would say would be like Dark Knight's Metal, and more importantly, the recent Batman Who Laughs miniseries, because a lot of what kicks off in Batman Superman, it pulls directly from the Batman Who Laughs miniseries. But even if you already read those, and you're still a little confused about a couple things, I got a playlist down in the description that is all about the Batman Who Laughs, and it stretches from his origin to him entering to Earth Zero and getting involved with the Immortal Men, or more so destroying the Immortal Men, and from there leading into the Batman Who Laughs series. And if anything, that should catch you up, so when you pick up this issue you can hit the ground running. But so now starting this off, we pick up with Superman, who gets a call from Bruce who tells him he has to get to the Justice League satellite ASAP. And when he calls Superman, his call is a bit harsh on the ears, but nonetheless Superman rushes out and he makes his way up to see Bruce because he knows this has to be important. But on the way up he does also notice that Bruce sounds a bit different, but he still makes his way up there anyway. And when he arrives and the whole Justice League is dead, in my mind I'm just like, wait a minute, not again, because this seems all too familiar. And when Superman gets there, there's kryptonite in the air, so he's crying blood and coughing up a lung. It's crazy. But it's here where Bruce steps out of the shadows that we realize that this is all a flashback taking us back to Earth -22, where we had seen during the time with Dark Knight's Metal, where we had got the origin of the Batman Who Laughs and how he had killed all the heroes on his world prior to making his way to Earth Zero and wreaking all kind of havoc there. And it's also a little nice flashback to his older costume too, like when he was transitioning. Like before he went all leather straps, buckles, and chains, and all other types of apparel that are nothing but quiet. And you can just imagine his frustration now and how he can't just sneak up on people like he used to. But either way, he is Bruce Wayne, so he figures it out and he pulls it off because he's also Batman. But with the way that this opened up, it really made me think back to the origin of the Batman Who Laughs, and with what we've seen happen through Dark Knight's Metal, even in Immortal Men, but even more substantially within the Batman Who Laughs miniseries. Because one, with revisiting this terrifying story and doing so in a way that just makes you think about Superman and his relationship with Batman, to where he trusts him so much, and only for the Batman on Earth -22 to turn around and betray that trust. It just takes me back to our Earth Zero Superman, and of course the other heroes as well, but mainly Superman, and how sensitive this friendship really is between him and Batman. And that goes even further when we jump back to Earth Zero and we see Earth Zero Batman talking to Commissioner Gordon and having a conversation that is clearly taking place not long after the events of the Batman Who Laughs miniseries, to where as a result of that, as a result of the conclusion, we know there's a little bit extra going on with Commissioner Gordon, though it's not something that necessarily pans out just yet. But while they're here, Batman is aware of the arrival of Superman, who overhears the conversation, and with doing so he comes to stop by. But with stopping by, he's also taking care of like 2 weeks of Batman work. But no, really, he's beating the mess out of Killer Croc in seconds, and he's carrying a bus that's full of like Blackgate inmates. And it does make you think for a second, like if Superman was really in Gotham, like just really sticking around, like he would clean up the streets within a matter of weeks, if that long. But when he gets here, before they get into it, he just whooshes Croc over to Arkham, and he's back within like the bat of an eye. And of course, in his mind, he's thinking like Batman probably thinks he's showing off, and in Batman's mind, he definitely thinks he's showing off. But at the end of the day, Superman just can't help but being who he is, even as mind-blowing and phenomenal as that may be. But when they arrive here and Commissioner Gordon gives them the spill, he informs them that 13-year-old Danny Mills has been kidnapped. But this wasn't done by a Batman from an alternate universe, but instead the Commissioner tells them that the witnesses say that this was done by a Superman Who Laughs. And from here, Batman insists that they find the Batman Who Laughs base of operations to start the investigation and take it from there. And Superman more or less follows Bruce's lead, because after all, this is Gotham, it is Batman City, and he doesn't want to step on his toes, even though he just tap danced on him like 3 seconds ago by dragging through Killer Croc and carrying a Blackgate bus like it was light work. But when Batman and Superman leave to start their investigation, we do get a fake heh out of Commissioner Gordon, which is really like a bit of foreshadowing, and I'm not doing that again. But it's like a bit of foreshadowing of not only what's around the corner, but what we know is going on with him in the background. But while Batman and Superman make their way to this location, Batman strikes this unsettling conversation with Superman asking him what would he do if he was turned like the Batman Who Laughs, which is something that we already know is more than just a hypothetical question, because for quite some time Batman was the first one here who was infected, and while dealing with the Batman Who Laughs, there was this constant question bouncing around like, will he come back or will he not? And I mean, as the reader, we knew that he would eventually, and for one, because he's Batman, though that explanation makes absolutely no sense in this scenario, but also because in this scenario, like, it was just like, he better, to where we found out eventually that he did. And at the end of the day, I believe it had a lot to do with him being Earth Zero Batman, who in the Batman Who Laughs words is the worst of them all. But so now, following this lead from Commissioner Gordon, to where he had also mentioned Danny's parents saying there was a buzzing sound, a loud electronic buzzing sound that was being given off, and as it turns out, this led them right to Crime Alley, which as many know is the location where Bruce's parents was killed, but also throughout the Batman Who Laughs miniseries, underneath this location, there was a tunnel that led to one of the Batman Who Laughs base of operations, which at the time was being operated out of by the Grim Knight. And initially, Superman just being Superman, he's like, you know, Bruce, we don't have to do this. I'm sure we can go around, we can find another way, but with no further ado, Batman insists that they continue. But even on the way down through there, Batman is still prying his question and asking what Superman would do if he needed to take down Batman. And mind you, back in the Batman Who Laughs miniseries, the Grim Knight had set up these different Bat Sentinels not only to guard where he was working and holding Commissioner Gordon, but also to guard any intruders from making their ways to the waterways. And as a result, Batman and Superman, they also run into these machines because since that has taken place, they're still here. But the thing that's hilarious is that Superman, he holds back a lot. Like he really just waits and let the other heroes fight, especially in the case when he's teaming up with Batman, and mainly because he knows there's a little bit of pride involved. And because of that, he doesn't want Batman to feel useless. But while they're down here and Batman gets overwhelmed a little bit, and Superman is just like, okay, we're done here. And he just heat visions every machine within viewing distance, and that quick, it is over. Threat eliminated within seconds. But also what this does is just blows a hole in the wall, and it takes us to the Batcave of the Batman Who Laughs. And it's super creepy because it's a bit reminiscent of Bruce's version of the Batcave, but instead of dinosaurs and a big penny, you have like torturous tools, these creepy looking dark robins just standing there, who I just imagine their eyes just follow you everywhere you walk. But also you have the chair where Commissioner Gordon was held during the Batman Who Laughs miniseries. And that's just one of those things because during that miniseries where we saw this happen, and by the way, that chair may be the same chair that held the Monitor in Dark Knight's Metal, back when we seen the Batman and the Joker versus the Batman Who Laughs. Who knows? But even going back not as far, but just to the Batman Who Laughs miniseries, we never really got this zoomed out look of the entire Batman Who Laughs Batcave, at least not till now. And for Superman, who notices the similarities with it, he still tells Bruce that you guys are not alike. And mainly to the notion of Bruce, the things that he keeps in his Batcave, they're more so sentimental, as Clark would describe it. But for Bruce, he's like, nah, we're pretty much alike. And if I may interject here, like Batman and the Batman Who Laughs are like your Popeyes and Chick-fil-A. They really just two versions of the same thing, just flipped in a slightly different way. But while they're here, they also discover like the serum that the Batman Who Laughs was putting together, that the Batman Who Laughs had them put into batarangs forged with nth metal. But more or less with them seeing this and figuring out that these are just steps towards a message that the Batman Who Laughs wants them to see, this then causes them to trigger a hologram which shows like every hero infected with the Joker toxin, which now broadens the target range from just Gotham, and it shows them that no one is safe anywhere. But as soon as they see this, like one of those creepy little dark robins that I was talking about that was just sitting over there, it jumps on Batman's back. And I'm telling you, like, I couldn't have been there because I would have been like, I knew it was a mannequin challenge. I thought I heard one of them over there humming some Ray Shrimmer, and now he on your back. Superman, do something. Man, like I would have been completely not helpful. And really, just to keep it all the way real, I wouldn't even went down in the hole. I kid you not. Like I still would have been up in Crime Alley playing Pokemon Go, just waiting on Batman and Superman to come back out. Like please believe, like you don't follow villains in a hole. But when they finally tone down the situation to where Superman believes that this is actually Danny who had been kidnapped, and as far as Batman, it's likely at this point that he's aware of the other Dark Robin that we'd seen running around, who before were like other versions of James Gordon Jr. But in this case, no, because this Robin tells a different story, telling him that his family was taken, he was hit with a batarang and then forced to wear this costume. And it's here that we find out that this is Billy Batson. Yes, Billy Batson has been infected, and he is truly like one of the last people that you want turned. And you can tell, like, for Batman and Superman, that is exactly what they're thinking. But when they see this, they're speechless, and I mean, like, before they can even put together what they're gonna do about it, he says Shazam. And while they're knocked back by that lightning, Batman just has this moment of thought to where he's like, now, you see, this is exactly what I was talking about. Because the whole time that Batman was trying to ask Superman, what would you do if I were infected? And Superman more or less calling out Bruce like, okay, you're the only one who really thinks like that. But underneath it all, it just lays on to Bruce's heaviest fear that if the heroes became the villain versions of themselves, there's this possibility that some of them might be better at being villains. And it's the thought of that just terrifies Bruce. But that'll do for this one, guys. Like, whew. Like, man, you want to talk about some jaw-dropping narratives? Like, this series starts with it all. And especially if you take the time to dive into the narrative between Bruce and Clark, especially following the whole ordeal with the Sixth Dimension, which explained to us why Batman and Superman are so important, because they literally tied to the rest of the multiverse. It's just mind-blowing. And just to see here how Joshua Williamson has taken what Scott Snyder has threatened the DC multiverse with, like, man, in full scope, the Batman Who Laughs entanglement with Lex Luthor, Perpetua, and his connection to like every hero and villain throughout the DC universe, it is nothing shy of a masterpiece. But like I said, that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down below, if your brains haven't melted and oozed out of your ears yet, because I can't wait to hear your thoughts. But let me know, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.